Well, hey, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Blue Gamer Bluecast Morning Show. I'm your host, Adam Blue, 30 plus your video game enthusiast and industry analyst. And today, for September 22nd, 2025, we'll run through the latest gaming news, what I've been playing, etc., etc. Shout out to Autonomous, JMKLX. Good to see you guys this morning. And yeah, that was Castlevania, Symphony of the Night, for sure. Dracula's Castle. Dracula's Castle, which Michiru Yamane, trying to say her name. She played a piano version, I think, on her. She might have on her channel, so check that out if you haven't. Am I bugging or do things seem cleaner? That could be it. It could be the position of the camera, and I would sometimes have figures here. And yeah. I like it though. I like the look though. It's crazy because if I was to turn the camera, it would look insane, depending on the angle. Because I was doing some tests about that earlier. What am I talking about? Actually, I wonder if I can show. It would be hard to see. I was actually filming. Isn't that weird? Let's see. Well, I'll have to share the link later. Maybe the next stream or the Blue Gamer Discord. I started a new channel. It's just more of lifestyle and fitness. It's just because as I've been doing this dieting and working out, I'm logging it all. And since I have a thing for filming and editing, I've been logging it. So I have 3 videos up. It's 3 weeks worth of all that stuff. I'll Filmception at the same time. Ultronymous Jim Killix. That was hilarious. So yeah, I'll because I kind of want to show what I've been learning because it's been changing my life. It's been crazy, and I guess since I like editing video, it just kind of lends itself to all that. But let's get started. I hope you all had a good weekend. I played some games. Did some. Wow, it seems to be getting super dark outside. Like it's gonna rain again. Doesn't show that it's going to rain again, but yeah, this morning it had just stopped raining and like the clouds are just out. But anyway, weekend played some games. Let's talk about the games that I played over the weekend. Let me pop that open. Okay, now let's start maybe at the earliest date, and I forget exactly. So 2020, so the 19. So yeah. Friday, I don't even know if I played anything Friday because we went out after work. It was workout, then we went out. So, are you guys seeing some animals? Is that what that is? So Kid Chameleon, I jumped back into that to play, and then I kind of stopped. I don't know. I need to get back into playing that. Here's something that's interesting. So, and I have to look at how this works exactly. So Retro Achievements has something that's called hardcore mode. And I typically have hardcore mode on for everything. The thing is, with hardcore mode, you can't use save states. So I guess that means I haven't been playing games that required save states in hardcore mode. For instance, when I'm playing the Castlevania games on like Game Boy Advance, I'm using the game's save system and not save states. And actually, let me look at that because I wonder if, like, Circle of the Moon. I want to say, man, that's not a lot of achievements. Oh, you know what? Because I played it on which makes so that makes sense. That wouldn't have had the hardcore mode. Let me go to Castlevania Advance Collection. Here we go. Yeah, this is where I've got Circle of the Moon stuff. Okay. So I need to go back to the emulator when I play it again. Wow, that's bringing back a whole bunch of memories. I remember I was starting Circle of the Moon up on the emulator, and I was like, well, I did buy it in the Advance Collection. Let me have getting the achievements for that. So save states are their own separate thing, so it makes sense you wouldn't have run into it. Well, here's the thing with Kid Chameleon. When I go to load the save state, it says I can't because I was playing hardcore mode. So with retro achievements, it's like I have to start a game with hardcore mode off to get those achievements. It's very interesting. It's like there's two layers. But here's the thing, I don't care. So I would turn hardcore mode off for Kid Chameleon because my point is just to get through all the levels. Yeah, I try not to get caught up too much into like the meaning behind like the difficulty I'm doing. It's like I use these again to track my progress. So yeah, Kid Chameleon. And then I went back to my Child of Ages and I got stuck in a cave. And here's the thing. It was the cave that I was actually playing when I was live streaming. And I went back, kept going. And it keeps telling me that, oh, I need to bring the goats back. And I'm like, well, should I not be in this cave? And I got to a point of the cave doing a puzzle. It's like, I can't figure this out. So it's like, did I get stuck? And I got to go back anyway. This My Child of Ages is still a very interesting game that I do want to play more of because it's like a company trying to make a Breath of the Wild, but without playing Breath of the Wild to make it, if that makes sense. All right, and then we have this Omen of Sorrow. This came out of nowhere. I played it on stream, I think, on Sunday. Right, I did the Sunday stream, and I was playing this in another game, and I like it. It's a fighting game, and I played like a little bit of arcade, but then I went into story mode, and the story mode, like an hour and 40 minutes, I would say maybe an hour in 20 minutes or a little less than that. An hour was how long it took me to get through the story that I haven't beaten yet, luckily. And what's interesting is, it's a lower budget game. So when I press start, the only option other than options is like main menu. So it's like, well, am I saving my game? Does that mean I'm not quitting? I'm just going to the main menu? And I guess it makes sense because then when I'm at the main menu and I'm going to story, it just resumes where I was. Anyway, Omen of Sorrow, it's a really cool fighting game. It's a low budget fighting game, but it still feels really good. It's really fun. And it has a bunch of cool classic like universal monsters or biblical figures, and they mash them up and make their own new characters. And it's just neat. I like all that. Okay, Odin Sphere, jumping more into that. I talked about that I beat it with Gwendolyn, the main character. And now I'm this other dude with a sword where, again, I'm lightly following the story, but I realize you're like this bunny-looking dude, but you were a boy and you just turned into a bunny. Because I'm in this, sometimes I'll pay attention to the story, and he was like in this castle. He's like, oh, I got to hide behind a pillar. He's like, oh, it's me. And then there's this human that walked out, and it's like, what? I don't know. I bet there's a lot more to the story that I've just been I just love the combat. I love doing the combos, and it's like dungeon crawling and loot gathering is really the basis of it. And then some more Lego Voyagers, playing with the youngest. It's actually pretty fun. So with Lego Voyagers, you're just a little single brick that you're just kind of like moving around, and then you jump. The puzzles are very light, but they're very fun. I feel like this is a proof of concept for something bigger Lego could come up with. In fact, for a sequel for Lego Voyagers, I would say instead of making it where you're a single brick, just be a minifig. I feel like that would just add more to this being in the world of Lego, because it's really, as you're just going through the world, you're coming across maybe like a gap. And it's like, okay, let's grab these pieces and build. So it doesn't matter if you're a little single brick or a minifig. I think the minifig could add layers of like unlocking parts for your minifig as you're playing. The game was cheap, $17. So I think it's short. So I think it's a lot of, it's just that it's a smaller game, if this was like priced at 60, I'd be expecting more. So it's a good proof of concept. Hopefully they figure this out. And some trophies, just to get an idea, or achievements, is build with bricks for the first time. You get that early. Both players sat on the seesaw. So like Split Fiction, there are things in the world that have nothing to do with beating the game that you can run into in co-op that give you an achievement. This one is removed a brick from a handle. That seems very simple, but there was a brick on a handle and we removed it. Okay. And then Chrono Gear Warden of Time. This game is such a fun game that came out of nowhere. I had no idea what to expect from this. And I was able to prove myself correct. So when I would play it, I would say, man, this feels like Sonic in Castlevania, right? Well, the developers of this game made Freedom Planet. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Freedom Planet. I myself haven't played enough of it, and I really need to. It's basically people that wanted to make their own Sonic. So when I'm playing this Chrono Gear, I'm like, man, why does it feel like Sonic? And it's because it has Sonic gameplay for a reason. It's because the developers are really into that sort of thing. And so what I find interesting, it's like this is something, you would think Sega would do, where it's like, okay, let's take the essence of what makes Sonic feel like Sonic, but add different things. No other developer has done it than, are they called Galaxy Trail? Let me look at the Freedom Planet 2. It's not showing the Chrono Gear on here unless, let's go back to that real quick, because why isn't that showing up? Yeah, Galaxy Trail. It is on here. So it's very interesting how this developer called Galaxy Trail understands the essence of the Sonic. Now, there could be multiple essences of what makes a Sonic game feel like a Sonic game. I think speed is more of the superficial surface level, like, oh yeah, he's fast. But what I'm seeing out of Chrono Gear that is an essence of kind of Sonic gameplay is sort of the multi-layered design of a stage where there is multiple places you could be going. Sometimes you'll go backwards for something, but it's usually a very quick part of the gameplay. Like, oh yeah, I'm in this right area. Or you activate one thing here and then you can go activate things in other places. Like, but you're getting there quicker. And then the added layer on top of it that really makes me like this is the combat system, because it's just like Castlevania. You have the jump, the double jump attack. You have the dash button, which just like Castlevania, you make use of that in Symphony of the Night when you're like dashing through. There's just a lot. It's just it's interesting that then it's also on top of this. And I need to figure this out for sure now that I'm here, right? VTuber. That this is based on VTubers. And I'm just not familiar with it. I'm seeing if there's anything official. Like, is it a VTuber? Is there like a website of the VTubers? Holo Indie or Holo Indie? Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting sometimes when you play a game and you learn about a whole new. Okay, that is the publisher, and maybe they publish games based on VTubers. I don't know, but that's funny because it almost like a VTuber is kind of like a YouTuber where it's a virtual avatar that talks for them. So someone could just make that up, and that's like an IP someone made. So of course you can make a game out of a VTuber IP. That's kind of interesting. Oh, the music in this is actually really good too, and I think that lends to it, right? I think sometimes VTubers do music. I don't know. Again, that might be a whole other thing I need to learn. Anyway, I 100% recommend this game. This is probably the most I don't know, like underrated game of this year, I bet. Actually, let me look. Yeah, the reviews are very positive. 342, which is low in general compared to a big release. But given the pedigree of the developer, I'm surprised. Okay. Adam Blue VTuber model went, well, oh wait, Holo Indie, like Hologram and Holo Live, which is probably the origin point of this. Okay, I see. VTuber thing. So I've tested that out. I guess I wasn't calling it a VTuber or something. Animated avatar. I found a program I was able to use on my computer that allowed it to, whenever I was moving, it would move. The reason I was doing that is because my wife was thinking of being involved in some reaction content, but she didn't want to be on, and she thought that would be cool to be. So we're just testing that out. That's why I guess I'm confused with VTuber, because I feel on one hand it's like, well, anyone could just make an avatar, but then I guess there are some people classified as VTubers that are more of like a business or something. I don't know. Okay, PNG tubing. Okay, and then I know I was just talking about a lot of Chrono Gear, but I think it's worth it. People need to know about this game. But last, Split Fiction. 13 hours in, I think we're near the end. And it's funny how little achievements there are. Yeah, wife and I playing some more. What can I say? We're getting near the end. I'm glad we're beating games together. I want to find a game that I enjoy. And I don't know how much she enjoys it. A level of enjoyment, like when you play video games and there's so many to choose from, yeah, you could play different games, but sometimes you'll pick the ones that you can really get a lot of enjoyment out of. Split Fiction's not that it's a bad game, it's just when it comes to a video game, the actual mechanics of what I do, for someone like me, it's nothing. It's not it's almost like, a person's first video, human's first game. You know what I mean? It's super, super, super basic, but because of the sheen on it, the production value, it makes it look like it's bigger than it is. And again, that's not to knock the game. It's probably needed for people that don't play video games, but I'm hoping to find a game with me and my wife that it's more my type of thing, but then can, help with her. VTubers are anyone who use an avatar. HoloLive specifically is a company that does a set of VTubers. I don't know the full depth of how they work. Okay, that helps. My favorite VTuber was some random dude in Japan I saw who was just a raptor. Not an anime style raptor, just straight up Jurassic Park 1 style raptor. That's awesome. And even a friend of ours and of the channel, Talos Mobius, he's been in the chat a few times. On his channel, he has done that where it's a Gundam 7th that I believe that is moving around while he's talking. All right, guys, we're going to move on to some different news now, and this is kind of sad. I had mentioned this so over the weekend I had found out Billy from the Game Chasers had passed away. That shocked me. I didn't know there was anything wrong, and apparently most people didn't, even him, because it seemed like it was just let's see. Did he have anything up here? Yeah, this is kind of sad. I won't show the whole thing, but showing him in the hospital just saying, hey, trying to get through this. Apparently with some brain cancer that came out of nowhere. So 44, 45-year-old guy, which I'm close in age, has kids. All of a sudden, I think it was like June, July, maybe even August, I think. Because June, I think he had a convention. I think it was just in August, like just a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. He was feeling bad, went to the ER, brain cancer, had to get brain surgery. Unfortunately, he didn't make it. And, that shook me on multiple levels. So I've been a fan of the Game Chasers watching them. I mean, the Game Chasers, I had stopped watching them, but I had just watched so much when they were out. And they're local. I've met them in the fan capacity at, things. But then I also met Billy when I was, drove to Arlington, random, and I forget what the place is called. I don't think it's even open yet. It was a place that has like random used electronics, and that's a good place to go video game hunting. He happened to be there right when I was picking up my Sony PVM. This is when I was in all of that retro RGB stuff, and he was there, and I remember being starstruck. I was like, it's you. And he goes, yeah. And I'll go, hey, my name's Adam. I have a channel, Blue Gamer, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then we were just talking for a bit. He was telling me what he was looking for. I was telling him, hey, I got this Sony PVM. This is kind of a way to play the older retro games. Anyway, it was cool. And then I got home and I was gushing on Facebook. Oh, I met Billy. But there's more to it than that. It's that he is someone that I see myself. He's a little older than me, but he and his friend Jay made this YouTube channel, The Game Chasers. And the quality of their content is something that I have never been able to meet and may never in the direction I'm going with things too. Like it's sad that he passed. And it's at the same time, I can look at, man, he has left this awesome legacy all of these episodes of Game Chasers and Toy Chasers that they started up, and he is such a funny person, a nice person. The humor between everyone here is amazing. It just really shocked me when that was like close to home for me. Anyway, I heard that name and lots of people are paying respects. Yeah, and it's funny because I remember when I first heard of R.I.P. Billy in the retro gaming scene, I was like, I don't know a Billy, but it's because, Billy Chaser, although that's not his real name, but that's what he does for the Game Chasers. And then someone had mentioned Game Chasers, like, oh my gosh, no way. And it's interesting. There's so many reasons why I connect to the Game Chasers. Now, they started in like 2011, I think, 2010, 2011 with this show. But I remember, what was it, 2003, 2004, I had moved out of my parents' house, and I would spend my days GameStop hopping, Funko-Land hopping, game chasing. Back then, it was amazing because no one knew the value of these SNES, NES, Sega Genesis games, and I would just, because I still loved that stuff, I remember just going to all these GameStops and buying. Like, I went through my game chasing period from then up until, maybe up until 2014. It was slowing down, and I even feel like I was getting too much into the wrong headspace of game chasing, where I was just trying to have everything I could physical. But over time, like, I realized, it's not really what I want. I just want access to play a game when I want to be able to play it. Some things I'd keep physically. Anyway, it's just interesting how, like, I personally would go through this, but then always reflect on influences around me. And, Billy and Jay, the Game Chasers, Toy Chasers also, that's like my culture, I think. So it really hits. I don't know if there's anything, like, if we hear, I went ahead and I subscribed to the membership just to kind of have some money going in that direction. I couldn't, like, imagine, again, in my position, if I was to pass and then my family was to have to continue on. So hopefully that's a way that can support. Maybe they'll come out with some ways to support. Yeah. But hey, I wanted to honor him with this, and I keep honoring him by continuing to talk games, and you can always go to his channel, and there's so many good videos to watch. And hopefully in some way, Jay will kind of continue that legacy. We'll see. Okay. What else did I have here? Borderlands 4 amasses over 2.5 million players since launch, which is pretty amazing. And this kind of goes in line with, like, the Nintendo Switch thing. I think I was talking about this yesterday with my brother, how, like, there's a lot of people that are into retro gaming or gaming that don't have a Switch 2 because of the price. But the Switch 2 sold pretty crazy. It's because the Switch 2 is that higher end consumer electronic device. And that's kind of why you're seeing both Microsoft and Sony kind of raise the prices on their hardware too, because there's kind of this weird, it's almost like we're seeing kind of the seam of the classes. I don't know how to, of income classes when it comes to something like video games. And that's kind of weird. That's kind of, I think, a weird marker of the economy, but we'll see, because at the same time, video games are more of a luxury. We want to look at things like, a cell phone's a good example, because a cell phone is technically a luxury, but also technically a necessity nowadays for so many things. So also, you kind of look at cell phones. Are people able to get a hold of a cell phone easily? I don't know. But anyway, I'm just bringing that up because I don't know anyone playing Borderlands 4. I wouldn't mind playing it, but I think I kind of got Borderlands down. And I know I've talked about on here, Gearbox, Randy Pitchford, the Aliens, Colonial Marines. I'll always be eternally hurt by what it was, even the Sega lawsuit out of that. So obviously there was a real thing there. But I'm not against playing the game if it's good, because the other part of that, there's probably tons of people working on the game that has nothing to do with the crap going on. So it's like, if this is a good game and people have good things to say, but I haven't heard. In fact, I've heard the opposite. I've heard so much like technical issues of it just not running well. And then Randy Pitchford's like, well, go get a refund. It's like, okay. Hey, Midnight Hatter in the chat. Good to see you. More like Borderlands. Never forgiving them autonomous. Yeah, so you understand that too. I know you're a big Aliens fan also. All right, moving on. Okay, Nintendo argues mods should not count as prior art in Pocket Pair patent lawsuit. The company reportedly claims mods are not games because they cannot run independently. Man. Now, I'm not going to dive into all of this, but I think one thing we can just say right off the top of the bat, Counter-Strike. League of Legends. All of these are based on mods, and Nintendo is almost trying to like stranglehold a game, and they're not. Who knows how much this is just formality, but if you were to take to the extreme, what it looks like Nintendo is trying to do is they're trying to patent genre, so they can be the only ones to make certain games. I don't know, I'm not really diving too much into that stuff, but just keeping an eye out. And then something I might have already talked about before, but just wanted to bring it up again, is the Xbox hardware price is going up again. It's very interesting if you think of if you put all the data points together. Sony, Xbox saying they're getting out of hardware. Hardware prices coming up, but Xbox and Sony have a portable coming out. So it's like, are they pricing these up because, again, these are luxuries and people are buying them, so they are going to make money? Or do they price them up so they could be maybe considered a loss because then no one's buying them and it kind of supports the initiative of going handheld instead of console? I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's a Surely lawsuit. Surely they'll never strangle the entire industry. Oh yeah, that's Nintendo letting their mob boss show. Yeah, that's it. But anyway, back to this. Again, I think they can only get away with this because the consoles have already been out for some time and they're working on new ones. I don't know. I don't know. It's interesting. I'm just glad I'm not in the market for an Xbox. I already have one. I would be for a PS5 Pro, but man, that's when you have a PC, I don't think you need a Pro. Anyway, just wanted to add just some random indie game that was previously announced on PlayStation, Switch, and PC is now getting a PS4 and Xbox Series port. So indie devs can port to Xbox pretty quickly. So again, I'm going to throw this out there. Bandai Namco, why? Why? Even Square Enix is porting to Xbox. Okay, I just want to look at this Legend of the Steel Empire. This is a shmup. And it looks like the PlayStation 4 version of Shoot 'em Up Legend Empire will launch on October 9th. Interesting that... Now, this is interesting because I don't know if this is a new one or a remake, a re-released. This is a lot of confusion. It's the Chronicles, so I guess it contains... Anyway, this is a shmup back on the Genesis. Okay, I'm looking to see if there's anything more. Okay, here we go. October 9th. Wow, enhanced visuals, but interesting that it's PS4, but it's going to be playable on PS5. Let me do a little bit of this. I'll be getting that. Let's see. Let me check if there was anything else. I think we're getting near the end here. Yeah, R-Type Tactics 1 and 2 Cosmos has finally got a proper release date. Will launch next March in Japan. Wow, look at that. That looks pretty cool. Those just look like, like cardboard or paper standees. I don't think they're actual. But then this looks like it's a model kit. This looks like a model kit box. That is cool. I've played R-Type Tactics before. When it comes to tactics or turn-based stuff with me, it's really hard. Yeah, R-Type Command. Yeah, there we go. When it comes to turn-based stuff, there really has to be some interesting stuff going on. I get bored fast. So, all right. Well, that's about it for this episode. So I think the main takeaways, other than R.I.P. Billy, and that's kind of what I want to remember with this whole thing. just because I feel like there's so many ways I connected with what he was doing, and I haven't achieved what he has, and the things he's achieved are so amazing. But also, another thing I wanted to bring up, what was it called again? Chrono Gear Warden of Time, probably a super underrated game this year. If you're into Sonic or platforming or just 2D games in general, Chrono Gear's pretty cool. I had her, let's file a shitload of patents for game ideas so we could just sue anybody who makes games. I know, that's... And then Alternative's funny how after Marvel Rivals does it, we're seeing more news about backwards releasing games. Yes. And I think it's because there might be something to do with the graphical power of hardware being reduced in general, especially if we're getting these handhelds coming. They're going to have reduced graphical power. And the PS4 is still a good base system to base your game's graphics off of. So, all right, guys, I'm going to head out. That was a lot of fun. I'll be back tomorrow with some more news. But until next time, be cool.